Do-do-do-do-do.
I miss people. We should probably go live. I really miss people. People.
Pepples.
People. I miss the people. Miss the people. I love people. Miss being out and about. We're live. Hi there, Tackler. Welcome to Disney Deep Dive, where each week we dive into the history, the stories, and the details of the Disney parks. I'm Leah.
And I am Stefan.
We are going to be talking today all about Discovery Cove. This is a live video, so if you are watching live with us, please comment. Let us know where you are watching from. Right now, we are in the middle of the health crisis. We are in the middle of COVID-19, which is weird to think about. Possibly you are watching a replay when this has passed us. But if you are social distancing, if you are cooped up in quarantine at home, hopefully you will join us live. I'm going to share out on my phone in just a minute. But today, we're not talking about that. We're talking about an abandoned park.
Yes. Also, it's Discovery Island. You said Discovery Cove.
Okay.
So, in the spirit of the park being completely abandoned right now, because Disney World is abandoned.
Yeah, the pictures, the aerial shots are crazy. They're super, super cool to see the pictures of nothing. You know, you usually see all the little ant people, and right now it's nothing. So
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
So thinking of that in mind, we were thinking of like all the other parks and attractions, not parks, but the attractions and things that had been abandoned over the years, because there are a few. And I had read some stories back in the day about like crazy abandoned Disney parks and like how nuts it was and yada yada yada, but I didn't really know a lot about them, and I didn't do a lot of research into them, so I wasn't sure what the details were concerning those. So I wanted to look into this, and there were a few, and originally I thought maybe we would just do like a short like hits episode, whatever you call it, like a clip show sort of thing, talking about different abandoned parks and rides.
Yeah.
But then this one kind of hit because Discovery Island, I actually have a personal connection with, which is kind of cool, and I didn't realize until I started looking into it.
If you're wondering what I'm doing, everyone just listen to Stefan and ignore me. I'm fixing, because I put island somewhere, but I know I put cove somewhere, so I'm fixing it. Continue on.
So the first time my family and I went to Disney World when I was a wee lad.
Yeah, you were 6, I believe. You were 6 your first trip.
Yeah.
According to your mother.
90. When was that? 94? 90.
No.
92?
Yeah,
93? 92 or 93.
Because, yeah.
Was the first time I went there. And there was one day where we took sort of a dual expedition day where my parents had set up, because growing up it was just me, my mom and dad, and my brother, my younger brother, and we set up like a split team expedition day where they both found 2 separate things that we would like to do, and one parent would go with each child, and we would go like do all this fun stuff.
I love that.
So I went to a computer lab where we learned about computer animation and got to animate some this bug creature thing, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm gonna halt you really quick. You want to fix the chat real quick? Because I had to fix that. And fun fact about that is that he is, if you did not know, he is a graphic designer. I think I just need to minimize that. Good? Yeah, there we go. There we go. He's a graphic designer, so the art class was good stuff for him. Okay.
So I went to the computer animation class, which was really cool. And I remember my dad asking after the fact, like, hey, where can we get this, software from? He really likes it, so you can do it at home. And basically, because they kind of like shoehorned me into the class, because you weren't supposed to go unless you were like a certain age. Like they wanted older people in there. It was like an older person type of thing.
You were little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they wanted older people in there. So, and I might be confusing my times too. This might have been the second time we went when I was a little bit older, but I remember being pretty little, so maybe it was this first time.
You would have
Um,
been 10 your second trip, I think. 8 or 10.
Actually, yeah, no, it definitely was the first one because the second one, A Bug's Life, was already coming out. Toy Story had already come out, and so that technology had already been around for a little while. So this was like the on the breach of it, like it was like the very beginning. Um, so I remember my dad asking the person leading the class, like, "Hey, where can we get this from?" And he was basically like, "It's thousands of dollars."
Mm-hmm.
With including like a specialized computer system plus the software plus everything you need to do it, like it would have been impossible. So he tried, but I couldn't. I was born at the wrong time apparently, because that was not a thing that you could just get at home and learn on your own and figure it out, which I definitely could have had it existed.
Yeah, he still figures out stuff like that all the time, and he's doing graphic art all these years later. So
Yes. So I did that. My brother, on the other hand, went to Discovery Island. There was I don't know what it was. I tried to look it up to see if I could find like an old brochure, like package feature thing, but it was the thing where he went with like a group of other kids, and they had like kind of a park ranger type person lead them around, and they did sort of a safari tour thing.
yeah, well, he loved animals.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we grew up in northern Michigan and in the middle of nowhere, and all we had was trees and animals, and we learned a lot about them, so we knew a lot about animals just to begin with. But he was really into them, and he knew a lot about them. And he went on this tour on Discovery Island, like looking at the different animals, and they would tell you about the different animals, and it wasn't just the animals on the island. They had, because I remember a very specific story, 'cause my mom was with him, where they had a whole like office room area where they could like show you different things, and they were looking at paw prints of different animals, and they were like, okay, does anyone know what this is? And apparently he knew every single one because we just know animal tracks.
The kids still do that. That's still a thing. They like on field trips they'll have skulls or prints. Or,
yeah, because we did that in school. We read it in books. We saw them, so he knew what all of them were. So
against those city slickers.
But it got to the point where the guy was like, "Okay, what's this one?" And he was answering every single one. And it got to the point where the guy was like, "Where are you from?" And it was not an exciting answer, but he knew all of them. So he was there and saw it. And had I had more time, I maybe would have asked him about it, but he probably wouldn't have remembered anything because he was very, very little. But he was there. So, in case you don't know, Discovery Island is an 11.5 acre island located at Disney World on Bay Lake, which is, if you know where the Contemporary is, the hotel, Bay Lake is the big lake that's right there, and the island's basically in the middle of it. It was open to guests from 1974 to 1999, where they could observe many species of animals and birds. So, the story of Discovery Island starts. Well, it depends on where you want to start. Discovery Island was purchased originally by Disney in 1965 as part of their massive land purchases leading up to the building of Walt Disney World. Which, when you look at the map, it's like, well, yeah, of course they bought the island also. Like, why would they not buy the island? But going even further back from that, from the early 1900s, the island was known as Raz Island, named after the family that lived there. So there was a family that lived there. They farmed there, and they had their whole life there.
That's cool.
They had, I'm sure, what was probably a 1900 style farmhouse shack, and farmed the land, and lived on the island.
That's crazy.
Now, this next bit of info has absolutely nothing to do with the entire story or Disney itself. I'm only mentioning it because it's completely absurd. In the late 1930s, the island was purchased for $800 by a man named Delmar Radio Nick Nicholson, who renamed it Idle Bay Isle and lived there for 20 years with his wife and pet crane. So let's break this down for a minute.
1930s.
1930s. $800, yeah, in 1930s, I'm sure $800 was a lot of money.
Yeah, we're learning a lot about money because we're watching Mad Men right now, and
Yes.
they're like, oh yeah, the well, I guess they weren't administrative assistants then. The secretaries were like, I make $30 a week. I said, whoo,
Inflation
girl.
is interesting.
Oh yeah, man.
So $800. Now the guy's name Delmar, first name Delmar, nickname Radio Nick
If we were having more
Nicholson,
kids, I'd suggest Delmar as a top choice.
or Radio Nick. Now I can only imagine it's because he maybe operated radio, maybe used radios like during the Great War or something.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe his friends had to radio him on this
But
island.
the fact that he's known as Radio Nick, that's like if I was known as YouTube Stefan. I'm barely on YouTube except for once a week when we do the show. I can't imagine he was like a DJ. He lived on an island in Florida.
It sounds like something that you'd call yourself. Like, you know how, like, you just
like
get
it's
it.
his own nickname.
Yeah, like, you
Name's
really try to get
Radio
it to
Nick.
catch on. You're like, yeah, call
First
me
name
this.
Delmar.
Yeah, you're that person who wants a nickname. You don't actually have a good nickname. And
So
no
he's
one
just
starts
like
calling you
into
that.
radio. So it's like if I was really into, I don't know, masonry, I'd be like Masons. But that's an actual name. So that's
Ace
weird.
Mace.
Yeah. Anyway, renamed it Idle Bay Isle. So was he being punny? Or was, like, did he just think, like, oh, this is an idle kind of area, I'll call it Idle Bay. It's not a bay, it's an island. Idle Bay Island. Idle Bay Isle. It makes no sense, but
Yeah,
it's right.
If you've got an idea, you got to guess. If you're watching on the replay, comment. If you're watching on the live chat, comment. We will chat with you there as well.
There's a shore, there's not a bay. Am I misunderstanding
Are
what
you
the
sure?
word bay is?
Talk about punny.
I'm quitting
You're
the
married
show.
to a honey bunny. A
I'm
punny.
I'm
a punny
quitting the
bunny.
show forever. And lastly, lived with his wife and pet crane. Was it a pet or was it just a crane that lived in the vicinity?
It makes me think very Swiss Family Robinson stuff. Like, you know, like they
But
catch
like a
it.
crane, cranes aren't domesticated. When someone says, I have a pet crane, you're holding that bird hostage. If it's like in a cage, if you have it somewhere and you're like, it's my pet, it's not a pet. Dogs are pets.
Someone,
Cats are pets.
the
Fish are pets.
Disney Deep Dive, one of our biggest fans, said that they really like Stefan's sass, so he's really giving
I'm
it to
just
y'all
saying,
tonight.
a crane isn't a pet. You're holding the bird hostage and you need to let it go, Radio
Our son
Nick.
wants to catch a bunny in the wild.
Bunnies are pets. Bunnies will.
What did you find in the wild?
They will. They become domesticated pretty quickly.
I
You can find a
opened
bunny
a
in the
can.
wild.
I opened a can of cranes.
Come on. Anyway, moving on. The island was again sold and renamed from Radio Nick. This time as Riles Island, which I'm assuming is named after the guy who bought it, and used as a hunting retreat until it was purchased by Disney in 1965. So it had a long
I wish we knew how long.
and
much it
storied
sold for,
history.
but yeah, very interesting. And so Disney originally planned to be operational as part of Phase 1 of Disney World. So being named Blackbeard's Island, and they wanted it to have a pirate theme. So I think this would have been really, really cool.
Yeah, like what it was exactly supposed to be isn't really clear.
Yeah.
In original maps, like drawings of the park, when it was in development, when Walt was still alive, it was on the maps. It was Blackbeard's
Well,
Island.
they have the pirate cruises you can do. Like, they still
Mhm.
do. And I think that would be so. We haven't actually done that. If you've done that, let us know in the comments. That's something that I've always wanted to do with the kids because, you can, like, see Peter Pan and it's really magical and cool. I would love that, like a pirate's cruise. So how cool would it be is if you could book a whole excursion? Like, you could do the pirate cruise and then you go to the island or, like, something fun. That would have been really neat.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, stories, and this leads into a little bit later in a few sentences, but stories like Treasure Island and things were really popular. So something like a pirate-themed island where you would go and like it would be like a pirate treasure island, like kind of probably what you saw later in like the Pirates of the Caribbean, like Tortuga and stuff.
Yeah.
Where it was a pirate island. That's probably what Walt was thinking with that. I don't know. This is all theory and conjecture, but it seems like that's kind of what he was thinking of, and it would have been really cool. had they gone forward with that, though it probably would have failed even harder had they put all of that time and money into it.
Yeah.
And the reasons why will become apparent later.
Yeah, and then with Walt passing away in '66, the attraction, as well as a lot of others, hit a bunch of delays and they went through changes. So their original intention, a lot of them was not seen through.
Yeah, or they weren't fully developed, so it's like, where do we go from here? So in 1973, the island was basically left undeveloped. They didn't do anything with it. But in '73, while Disney was attempting to further boost attendance to its newly opened theme park, they decided to move forward with development of the island. They expanded the perimeter of the island by boating in 55,000 cubic feet of dirt. So basically, like building up the shore, building beaches and whatnot. And they named it officially Treasure Island. Um, which even more, I think, like harkens back to what I was saying about how it was going to be a kind of a pirate themed island type place. It's not exactly what happened, but they did name it Treasure Island. They planned for it to be a pirate themed animal preserve where guests could come see rare and exotic animals in their natural habitat. It was going to be kind of like a rainforest island where you could see kind of world apart from where you were, existing.
Yeah,
It
and
was
I was just gonna say we've mentioned before too, Jungle Cruise and stuff. Walt and Tiki Room. Walt loved animals like this. Like he loved these kind of tropical animals, so it totally makes sense to me that he would want to have something like
Yeah,
that.
it was definitely a proto Animal Kingdom. It was because Jungle Cruise was supposed to have actual animals, and they were like, "It's not feasible. You can't do that."
So
So,
now, Walt.
so this is something that they were gunning for a long time. It's something they wanted to do, and they're like, "Well, we have an island. What doesn't sleep all day? Birds. Put a bunch of birds in
That
there."
is so true. When you take kids to the zoo and you're like, well, see that little speck up there? That's a lion.
Yeah, if you can
Great.
barely even see it. Though
I
one
love
time we
zoos.
were at the zoo, and the lions were sleeping right against the
It
glass.
was so cool.
Oh, it was awesome.
It was so cool. And we have footage of, there's a vlog on there somewhere on our blog channel. You can go dig it up. But we have footage of our youngest, who he was like 2. He's like, big kitty.
Yeah.
We're like,
Oh,
"He's a
with
big
he did
kitty."
that with the tigers,
Yeah.
because the tigers were against the glass too, but the lions were sleeping right on the
It was
glass.
cool.
It was so awesome.
This is, yeah, it's, we go to the zoo every year. We're zoo people. Like, we aren't close to a zoo, but our kids, and we love the zoo too. It's one of my favorite days of the year when we get to go to the zoo.
Yeah, we like seeing animals.
Yeah.
So they plan. I already read that. Moving on. The attraction being the island, mostly featured birds and flowers, and the island was developed with a series of winding paths and waterways for guests to explore. So they actually dug like rivers and stuff into the island to follow the paths and stuff, just for like aesthetics, which probably later on weren't. It probably wasn't a good thing after the island was abandoned.
Yeah, and then they actually, I think this part's so interesting too, since it ended up becoming abandoned. But they crashed. I mean, they didn't actually go. They had a little pirate ship that was crashed onto the shore, so that guests could go explore an abandoned pirate ship, which I think is so fun. It reminds me. So in Orlando, or in Kissimmee, is the Gaylord Palms Resort, Gaylord Palms, and they have this pirate ship restaurant thing, and I love that. It kind of reminds me of that, because I remember wanting to eat there so bad. I didn't care what the food was like, and I was a teenager, but I just wanted to go to be on the boat. Cool.
And the boat wasn't huge. Like it was. I mean, it was just like the size of a pontoon boat. Really, it wasn't big, but it still was cool. It was like a crash boat on the shore that you could check out.
Yeah.
During the first 2 years of its operation, though, the island wasn't really meeting expectations. It was hitting lower than projected guest attendance numbers, and most people only visited the island for like a short time, like a quarter or half of a day, and then they would just take off because there wasn't a lot to do there. So because of this, in 1976, the island was temporarily closed to undergo renovations.
Which, if you are familiar, shameless plug, with our other videos, you know that we talk about renovations a lot, and most rides go through some kind of renovation. I mean, they all do, big or small, but you can watch our playlist to hear all about those. But they added snack bars, brand new on-site, state-of-the-art aviary, and they renamed it. So that's when it was renamed Discovery Island.
And that's where it eventually got its name. Mostly because it was officially named like an animal preserve. I don't know if it was. I don't know what the legality is with that, but it was an animal park. So it wasn't. They were abandoning like the pirate theme, and they were like, okay, let's just go to the animal theme. So that's where Discovery Island came about. The island was presented as one long walking tour. So once you exited your boat onto the dock, you were set along this path that took you around the entire island, where you could view all the birds, flowers, alligators, other attractions. They had other things like they had bald eagles, they had flamingos, they had pelicans, they had there's a whole list. I should have copied it down, but I thought it'd be boring to read an entire list of animals. But lots of cool birds and things. So essentially, it's was what Animal Kingdom was to become, which ties into this story pretty closely because the island was growing in popularity and attendance until the mid 90s when Disney's brand new project Animal Kingdom was announced.
Which makes total sense for Shane, his brother, being there. And then it's like, and that would have been right, your first trip, because his second trip and my first trip ever, we both went to Animal Kingdom within like the first, like it was just there.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't when I went. It wasn't even open yet.
Yeah.
It was. We got like a preview pass or something, so it wasn't even completed. Which was weird going back. When did we
20
go?
years later or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
because everything like was grown over. Like I remember when we went the very first time, the Rainforest Cafe. Like I remember that whole area was like just like a rocky,
cementy, like
it
right?
was. I mean, it wasn't like cementy, but it was. It looked like a big like rocky wasteland because they had all the base parts laid in with all the rocks and stuff, and now it's a grown over jungle. So it was completely different. It was crazy. Um, essentially, Animal Kingdom is what Discovery Island could only have dreamt of being. That's what they were going for, but so much more. I think Animal Kingdom is something like 50 times larger than the actual island itself, the 11.5 acres. Which, if you don't know acreage, and this is what's kind of crazy about the island itself. I grew up on like 10, 11 acres of land. It's not that big. Like that's not a lot of land, especially to house as many animals as they were housing on the island, and to have as much as they had on there. It's not. It's just not that big.
If you picture like a standard, like if you're in a suburb and you're a subdivision, that is typically, now this obviously varies a lot. Most houses are sitting on about a quarter acre, about in a suburban subdivision kind of thing. So really, I mean, picturing that and picturing all the people and picturing Disney, that is a very small amount of land.
Yeah, you could walk from one end of the island to the other in 10 minutes. Like I mean, it's just not that far. Like pending like anything in your way, but if you're just straight walking it, yeah, like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, it's just not that big. So the fact that they had so much crammed into it, which is why like when you say like there's a walking path on it, it's like, well, yeah, like it takes you like a bunch of snake curves through the island, but it's just not that far.
Yeah.
So once Animal Kingdom opened in 1998, attendance for Discovery Island began rapidly falling.
Yeah, and that wasn't helped by the fact that a lot of the animals that were on the island were relocated to Animal Kingdom. So guests didn't really have anything to do when they tried to go to Discovery Island.
Yeah, not a lot to see. So on March 26, 1999, Disney officially announced that Discovery Island would close for good on its 25th anniversary in July.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, we're going to close it down. It's done.
Yeah, for a number of reasons. Low attendance, only accessible by boat. The price tag attached to the maintenance was big, and the upkeep of the island was just something that wasn't a financially smart move when they're seeing everyone going to Animal Kingdom instead.
Yeah, when you can only reach the place by boat and people aren't really staying there, it's not a place that people want to go hang out at. So it just financially it just didn't make a lot of sense. Now there are a lot of rumors about why it was actually closed up, like conspiracy theories.
Put on your tinfoil hat.
Well, and one of the main ones is that it was closed due to a deadly bacteria living in the waters around the lake. This isn't exactly true, but it's sort of true. because River Country, which is another abandoned part of Disney World, that was in close proximity to Discovery Island. It was like across the bay. Was a host to a deadly amoeba called Naegleria fowleri. Now, this was in the 80s, um, but it was also a bacteria that was like all over Florida at the time, and like reportedly a child got it in their brain, and like I don't know if they passed away or something, but it's something that was all over Florida at the time. It was highly publicized. So when this came out that Disney World has it, they tried to make a big deal out of it. It wasn't that big of a deal.
It was in the 80s or the 90s?
The 80s is when the it's not a disease, but
Like
it's
a
an amoeba. Yeah, that was
Okay.
all over the place. It was just spreading, but that's when it was really like everywhere. So they're saying that that's one of the reasons why they closed, because it was in the waters, it was all over the place. People would be infected, but that's just not true. It's not. I mean, it's not even one of the reasons why they closed River Country. River Country mostly closed because it was a freshwater, natural, like kind of swimming hole type of attraction,
Right.
and Florida was passing laws where all pools, because of this amoeba thing in part, all pools had to be chlorinated, and they're like, well, we can't feasibly chlorinate this, and it kind of kills the entire attraction, so we're just going to close it. That was just one of the reasons. So originally Disney had planned to repurpose the island. The plans fell through, and eventually it was just completely abandoned. They just didn't reopen it. They didn't have any plans for it. They didn't feasibly think of anything that could draw people to it, and they just said, okay, well, let's just close it. So now we get into sort of a fun and creepy part of the story. Portions of the perimeter structures, like the docks and the walkways that were on like the outer rim area, were removed by 2006, but the remainder of the buildings on the island were left intact and fully powered. So everything must have been on some sort of like auto system where like lights and everything would turn on automatically at night, because every single night you would see like the lights glowing from the island, like to the outside. No one was on the island. Like no one was like managing it, looking over it. It was completely closed, but the lights would turn on every single night. Which I'm sure was very creepy if you knew that. I'm sure most people, they were like, okay, whatever, maybe they still do stuff there. Who knows?
But by 2008, they either disconnected them or they just were shut off because no more lights.
Yeah, so they chances are they probably just like disconnected the power because they're paying for that. I had read
Why
something.
did it take so long to do that? That blows my mind.
Well, I read something that said that it was actually going to be really expensive for them to disconnect the power. So I'm sure just it made more sense to leave it on and be like, we'll deal with it when it comes up. And something probably happened where it came up. They could just disconnect it. So because they wouldn't just waste money on it. Like
right. I mean, everything at Disney is so well thought out. There's no way that they just be like, oh man, forgot about that. Like that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. So at this point, all of the plants and trees have taken over. The buildings are barely visible from the water.
Yeah, look up pictures and videos. It is really interesting to look at.
The buildings are still there. They definitely exist. And actually, if you look at topical maps, it's kind of funny because you can see from like the 70s when they brought all the sand in and built the beaches out and everything is just grown into it. It's all grown out. Its nature has just completely taken over. And I imagine it probably looks a lot like the old Jurassic Park from that scene in Jurassic World.
Let us know if you like Jurassic World. I did like it. I know a lot of people don't. Stefan liked it. We liked it.
Not a Disney property, but
No,
it was fun.
But Jurassic World's fun. We don't
And I'm
always
sure
have
it's
to
what it
talk
looks
about...
like.
Yeah.
In fact, I know it's what it looks like, and we'll get into that now.
Yes, and now we are in our
Fun
fact
facts.
lightning round. We weren't ready tonight, y'all.
So the beach on Disney's Discovery Island did not permit swimming. You could play and walk on the sand, but you couldn't swim in the water. This is because the waters around Discovery Island are infested with alligators.
Hey kids, don't. And this is obviously serious. It was just a couple of years ago at Disney. This is a very, very serious thing just in Florida in general. You need to be very careful if you're golfing, walking to your car, getting lunch, or in the islands of Discovery Island.
And when I say infested, they're
waters.
not actually like infested, but like alligators do get
They're
in there.
there, heck yeah.
Like they sneak in, they get
They'll
in.
come
They're
in a
wild
puddle.
animals.
Mm-hmm.
So they get into there, and they, as a safety measure, they were like, "Don't swim here, please."
Yeah.
So yeah, fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The island's facilities were the home of the last known dusky seaside sparrow before it died in 1987, and then the subspecies was declared presumably extinct in 1980. So the last of these animals, I don't know what it looks like. I should have looked it up. The dusky seaside sparrow went to extinct at Disney World.
Some of the attractions, that is interesting,
Mm.
at Disney World went extinct. That's crazy. Some of the attractions at the park included trumpeter swans, which I think is really cool, a bird show featuring macaws and cockatoos, lemurs, brown pelicans, flamingos, tortoises, cranes, and the United States' most extensive breeding colony of scarlet
Ibis?
ibis.
Also, I guess I did put a
let
list
us
of
know.
animals in here. I didn't realize that. I saw the thing about trained macaws.
Give this a thumbs up if you appreciate all of his research. Stefan does a ton of research for these deep dives, and it is not easy. It's not like he just goes on there. I mean, he's on different websites, different videos, all over the place, Wikipedia. So give this video a thumbs up. Share it out if you like it. We really would appreciate that.
Let's see. Over the years, there have been many rumors about what may become of the island. Obviously, nothing at this point.
Can I buy it for $800 though?
Probably not.
Darn.
But the rumors have covered everything from it becoming like an island of like romantic condo getaways to turning it into an interactive live version of the game Myst, which I have never played and barely know what it is.
I don't even know what
It's like it was gonna be like I think it's a computer game. It's like an online game.
Is it a Disney thing?
No, it's not a Disney property.
Disney could like buy
I
it.
yeah, I
they could
think
make.
they
You know what
were
they should do?
going
They
to
should like
partner with them.
Jumanji.
Oh, yeah, man. I think that's Universal too.
Yeah.
Though. Jurassic Park and Jumanji. Man, the world.
What's something like that that's Disney? Let us know in the comments below.
Personally, I think they should invest in actual dinosaur cloning technology and just put dinosaurs on the island for real.
They gave you Galaxy's Edge. That was one childhood dream of yours.
They have an 11
Coming in
11 and a half acres. They can put a single dinosaur on there.
If I had $800 to spend.
So, in the more interesting part of the fun facts, there have only been 3 documented expeditions to the island since it closed in '99. Keep in mind, these were all done illegally. You legally can't go
Yes,
to this
we are
island.
not condoning this. Don't do this.
And one of the guys, I read something that said he swam to it, which, dude, come on. There's gators in there. Get out of the water. So in 2004, a man named Shane Perez, he was the first one to document the island. He took pictures, wrote about what he saw. A lot of the pictures that you see when you look up Discovery Island, like the post ones, are the ones that he took. And it does in fact look like the old Jurassic Park from Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
It's all grown over. It's all super creepy. It looks like they just up and walked away one day and never came back. Like they were chased out by dinosaurs. So let's see. Then in 2007, someone or a group of people named Nomius, I say a group because they all signed their names on one of the dry erase boards left in one of the offices. But I didn't look into who they were or if it was just a single person posting about it. But they took a bunch of pictures also and explored the whole island. And then 10 years later, most recently in 2017, 2 men named Matthew Sansois and Chris Carswell traveled to the island to explore it and recorded the entire thing.
Yeah. The video's cool.
Yeah, you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. It's in HD and stuff.
Which, I'm just a scaredy cat. I'd be like, there's no way.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's... Especially when you see them walking like on all the old like raised walkways. Like they go through the old aviary and it's all like raised up off the ground and they're just like cruising across. It's like, man, you're like 15 feet off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
If one of those things falls down, you land on like a sharp stick. Like,
I like how that's where your mind goes. My mind goes to the fact that like that's against the law. Like I'm thinking, this isn't like you're 16 and you've gone into an old abandoned house in your town. Didn't say I did this. Mom, calm down. But no, this is going on to a Disney-owned property. Like this is a way bigger deal than like some of that petty stuff, and no way, absolutely no way.
Yeah, that.
I like to follow.
What do they call that? Urban explorers.
Yeah, there's a name for that, which I wouldn't know.
That stuff I kind of like frown upon because there's so like a lot of it only has to do with like, are they gonna get hurt or is a ghost going to eat them or like whatever it is. But like I did a little bit of that when I was in high school back in the day,
Hmm.
back before it had a name because it was
Back
2004.
when the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Yeah, so it would have been
For
2004.
you kids.
And because there was an old, well, there was, I don't know, maybe it's gone now, but there was an old ski resort, like giant hotel. Basically, picture the Overlook from The Shining. It was
Hmm.
basically that, not on a mountain, but like it deep in the woods, deep in the woods around here. And there's like an old ski hill and like the old, so you had the old giant hotel, and then you had the old chairlift system was still there, and everything was crazy. It was all still there,
Hmm.
and we used to go drive in there and then like explore the place. We very easily could have just like fallen through the floor
Yeah.
and like
Well,
just straight up
I
died.
went to that old asylum
Hmm.
and there were still, I mean, like old records, files, like crazy, crazy stuff. And I, the entire time, was scared. Like now I'd be like, girl, get out of there. Let your friends do their thing. But, oh
Yeah, at the
gosh.
time it was like, oh, it's so much fun. But like now that I see all of this like being
Hmm.
posted on YouTube and people are doing it for
Right.
like the glory of
I was
it,
gonna
I'm
say
like,
we were pre, like there was no iPhone. Okay, we didn't have, like, there's not the video. We didn't have
I
video
just
then.
I feel like when we were doing it for like the personal like thrill of like going on the adventure, it was different than the person doing it, posting it for the views. I just
Either way, kids, don't try this at home.
yeah, just don't do
Don't
it.
break the law. Don't get in
Like we did it
trouble.
because
Don't
we
get
heard
hurt.
about it and we spent time. We invested time and energy into
Oh boy.
searching for where this place was because it's not like it was on a map.
That's true.
Like we had to like ask people and like learn like okay, where was this place at? What was it called? I can't remember what the name of it was,
I
but
I want to asterisk this because my mom's probably going to watch. She's one of our biggest fans too. But I remember standing and people who will remain unnamed said, "Hey, do you want to go to a haunted house?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, cool." Like it was in the fall, so this would have been like, "Oh yeah, let's go to a haunted house." And I was 18, pretty sure. Either, whatever. I'm like, "Oh yeah, we'll go to a cool haunted house, whatever." And even though that's not so much my jam, I was gonna go. And then as they're like explaining it, I'm like, you don't mean like a place where we're gonna go pay money and walk through something? Okay, so
yeah, we straight up had the police call our house because someone saw us leaving and took my plate numbers down. So they called asking what we were doing there, and I was like, looking for ghosts. And they were actually really nice about it. Like these days, they probably would have, I don't know, arrested me and I'd be in jail forever. But at the time, they were like, you weren't vandalizing it, and I wish we weren't. We weren't vandalizing anything.
right,
We were
it
just
didn't hurt anything.
exploring because we thought there
Yeah,
might be ghosts there.
I definitely don't condone any of this kind of behavior, but I think in general, like, it's like more like a get out of here, unless they
Hmm.
feel like messing with you. But
Yeah. So that's Discovery Island.
yeah, I'm really curious. We do say this all the time, of course, but if you are watching the replay and you have been there, like if you were ever there, I would love to hear about it. Like I'm really curious. So please let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories and we will respond to you. So comment, and if you like this video, please share it out. That really means a lot to us as well. And we are here every Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And so you can let us know other attractions or rides or things that you would like us to
Yeah,
dive
give us some
into.
ideas to check out because we're just sitting at home.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe
I,
you are too right now with everything going on and the parks are closed
I
and.
have plenty of time to research things, so ask for things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's been crazy times. I feel like we're in like a sci-fi creepy movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a little strange, but we do want to thank the Live Place. Our friend Dean, he is fantastic. TheLivePlace.com. I do have it linked in the description box. He has a website where he shares a whole bunch of all family friendly streamers, and there's a ton of great Disney content on there. And definitely check it out. There's all different people who do all kinds of different things. There's bound to be at least a few who you connect with and you want to check out. So do that. And
Hmm.
thank you so much to him for streaming us. We really do appreciate him very much. And you can find us. I'm on Instagram at Leah Tackles.
And I am at the Mitten Print Shop.
Yes. So we hope that you have a magical night.
And we'll see you real soon. Like next week, even.
Like next week. Bye.